Alright, so in the last video what we had was this. Um, so loading the model, right? But we need to do the animation and stuff. To do that, I'm gonna add the state machine. But so in order to add the state machine, I need to create the states first, right? So let's actually have a base state for this. Um, so let's actually if state.h um wait, before I do that though, so this is the state I'm going to write is for player, but I'm thinking I'm going to add state for the game as well. So you have pause state, you have play state. So when I do it in a way so that I can use in the both place this state code. So um yeah, well, let me actually check what I did. So I have a structure called test, structure called state, and in the state we have what right, we need to have a enum called type. I'm gonna put all the states that I'm gonna use here. Let's see what we do in the future, but for now let's just use that. So we have first state called post state. In this case this is the first pose when the model is standing. Then we have run, and then we have id, right? This is how the model is saved. Animation is saved in the model in this order. So that's why I'm saving it in this order. So I have a variable called type, which will basically save the type. First let me check. It is the recording, right? There is another code that is working. This that code is the previous one I did. So yeah, constant type. We need a destructor. Although this is the base state, and the state must have few function. Virtual void on enter. So this is when the state is first state is selected. Then we have on. Then we have on execute. This is basically our update. Do we take the float value? Yes, we do. So this is the delta time, basically the time difference between the frames, delta time. Then we want an on exit. So this will be called when we cancel the state, we enter another state. So in the state.cbp, let's just include we need the state header. We have the state. Let's have the constructor, destructor. Actually let's have all of them. Actually no, because wait, on exit must be virtual as well. Where is it? Right. Yeah, so this is right. We need to copy these two. Okay, these two is for, we need to save the type as I said, because each state has a type. Let's just save that. Yeah, we have type. Then we have a destructor which doesn't do anything. So yeah, that's that. Now what do we need? We need, why are you complaining? Because the syntax is wrong. There you go. Let's actually add this on the CMake. Source yeah, we have the states. Let's actually comment this shit. C++ not comment working with recording. Status. What are we have? Modified. We don't want to track cache. message base state. We should always write this add base state. If it is applied, then it will do that. I think you should write the comment in this way. At least I write in that way. So yeah, we have removed the cache. Then when I write, I'm gonna next write the state machine. So include state machine dot h. Actually, let me check one thing. If am I recording? Yeah, I am. Yeah, right. So let's actually say if not def state machine. Oh, wait, I think this state. If I can spell. So it's called state machine underscore. Although it doesn't matter as long as you follow the same pattern. So what our state machine should have, let me actually check. It will just need to change the state. Let's just do state.h, and we have structure called state machine. I don't think my constructor needs anything, but the destructor doesn't need anything. I mean, you don't give anything to destructor, right? Void, we have change state. We're gonna to change state we need new state. So this is a new state, and then we need the type as well to check the state. Do we need the type? Because state knows that. Let me let's keep it that way. Let's actually need another variable called main current state to save the current state. So in the chain state machine source code, we're going to do is to not dot h dot cb. So include state machine dot h. Right. So in the constructor, we don't do anything, but we do want to set. I guess I'm using GCC as a compiler. By default, it should be set to null, but I want to do it explicitly because in the past I had experience where I did not, and it gave me some garbage value. The null was failing, so that's that. We have need a change state. So basically, what I'm going to do in change state is close the current state, change it to new state. But first we need to check before we need to check the state type. I mean, we shouldn't change the state if it's in the current state already. If it's in that state already. So new state dot type is not equal to if new state is not equal to now, not new state, sorry, if current state is not equal to now. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first exit the current state. Right. If exit the current state, then when I enter the new state, actually we don't want to enter the new state, we only want to do is exit. Let me, I'm missing something. Alright, one thing I have missed, because because again, if the current state is already on that state, we don't want to change, right? So if the current state type is equal to new state not, because we don't want to do anything if it's already the same, then we want to exit. So after doing that, we want to do is set the current state as new state, and we wanna enter the current state. That's it. Hopefully this is it. Yeah. In the previous time what I did is that I used a single document for state machine, but I don't think we need that. If we need it in the future, I will implement it, but for the time being, I don't think we need it. Okay, nothing should fail. I mean, I have not implemented. I'm just taking the source. If it's building, let it commit add state machine. Right. Now that we have state machine, we want to create the states. Right. Let me actually think. For the player, we have a pause state where we have those, right? But we need to define those states. We need a pause state. We need a run state. We need either. Now, basically, we won't need this state, this run state, because after we add the steering behaviors, all those state will have the run animation. But for the time being, just for testing purpose, we're gonna add the run state. So yeah. So let me player state dot h. One thing I need to do here is actually I was thinking I should use a namespace because multiple things might have a same state name. I could name it player, but let's just name it states. Let's just call it player state. So we need the state header because we need to inherit the state function. So not the state function, but the state class. Still there's a typo. It's called state. Right. So let me actually structure called pause state, which is a basically state. We need a constructor, we need a destructor, we need the usual suspect. So we want this functionalities on enter. Let's just right, we have the pause states. Now before we implement this pause state, I need to update it. Okay, let me actually players. Actually, let's call it players. Let's call it player states. Yeah, like player states. Player states. Right, we have the pause state. We need the source. Player states .cp include player states .h. Name space players. So let's call it player states. So in the pause state we need to need something to change the animation. Currently we don't. Post state post need to call the base state and give it a type state type post, right? And this doesn't do anything. What is important is on enter, on execute, on execute. So for the time being, what I need to do is just change the animation. In the case of on enter, don't do anything. Well, we do want to do something with. We want to change the animation. Although the state we have now is the post state, but we will change it. Let me actually check the player code, because we need to do something on the in the player class, so in the player struct. So basically what I do is I'm gonna have an enum called animation types. So what kind of animation do we have? We have the idle. Let's just explicitly set it to 0. We have run. Then we have pause. Basically this is same, but I don't wanna use that enum. So I'm gonna say a function called void. What is the name? We need basically two functions. One is called set animation. Set animation, which takes the what is this called, animation type, constant animation type, types. We don't want to call it animation types. You want to call it animation type. Animation type. Let's name it anim type. We want another function which is called update animation. We need something else as well. Let me check what we're missing. So the animation related code are like this. It's called model animation. Model animations. These will have all the animations that we will load. Then we will have another animation model animation m current animation. Then you wanna have a variable called total animation that will have all the counts of the total animations, and then you wanna have unsigned integer because that will always be positive. The current animation frame. These code, by the way, are from the documentation. If you see the animation example, they use that structure for it, so I'm going to follow that. Right, so what I'm going to do in the player source, let's just void player set animation. We want to set animation type. I'm just calling it anime, but it should be called animation. Why are you complaining? Set animation. Oh, I made a pointer. It should be reference. Okay, so this is the set animation function, right? What I'm gonna do is think it sets the sets the current animation. Let's not call it. Let's name it current animation. It is what it is. Current animation because it's an array. It's a pointer. We can't call it this basically you give it the index of the animation. In our case there should be 2 and 3 animations, but because it's enum and by default the first value is 0, it will convert to an integer value in this function. So I'm gonna get the right animation. I need to do some other stuff in it because I need to set up the animation code. Currently we don't have it. So what I'm gonna do, model animations, load anim. It's not load all this thing. No. The function is called load model animations, right? So it takes the freaking path. In our case, the model has the animation. Okay, so this is the. Then we need. Actually, what we need? Yeah, we need the count of total animations because it returns that. So the animations are loaded. Let's set the defaults. Although we could set this to a constructor, but let's just make it explicit. Current animation. No, not current animation. Current animation frame is 0. Then we need. We're not setting the current animation. That's okay. We're setting the current frame. We're gonna update the current frame because every animation has a frame, right? So it has multiple frames, not a frame. Sorry. So let's actually update the animation. In the update animation, we need to call the function. What's the function called? We need to increase the count. Current animation frame is equal to current animation frame plus 1. We don't want to cross the total count, so total animations. We actually no, this is not it because total animation is the total number of animation, but the animation frame count is actually in the current animation. Dot frame count. Yeah. So this is the current animation frame. We want to use that. And we need to change some other thing as well. We need to have a function called draw there. Do I call it draw there? No, we call it draw model. Why am I calling this that? Because I don't want to use render because we might have states that doesn't render. So if I call render directly, I want to call specific state render function. So it will make more sense if I update the render code, but for now we will do it in this video. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So if we draw the model, this is basically our original render code. So this is So what I'm gonna do is now I'm gonna have a state machine, and call it state machine pointer m state machine. I'm gonna set it to null. Why is it complaining? Oh, we need to have this machine here. Right. Okay. So let's just set the state machine here. State machine is equal to new state machine. State machine change state. We want to have the player states here. Player states. To what? We want to have a new player states post it. Post it doesn't take anything. Right, we have the post it. Now instead of render, you wanna say like m state machine current state on execute. Wait, there's a thing on render, so it should be on render. I have not written on render. Wait. Let's just create what we call let's just call it render. We need to update the header first. And then here's the thing though. I need the access of the player here. So what I'm gonna do, if I check the player states, we wanna have player, and I wanna see player pointer here. I wanna keep my player here. So now what I'm gonna do is player let's just keep the player as player. And on execute we can have, so not on execute, actually yeah, why not, On execute is basically our update function, so we can say player update animation. We want to update the animation in the exit function. Why is it complaining? Because it's incomplete, right? So let's actually include the player header. Should not complete. On enter, we want to say player set animation. We want to say player animation type was. On render, in the pause state, we want to do is player draw model. So now that we have all those things, what we can do in the player.cpp, this, and on render we just call the render function. Whatever the current state is, call that. We need another function that we are missing from player, and that is the update. Let's just add that. Update float, we need delta time, and check the source. Call it update float delta time constant on execute delta time. Right. Now what we can do, because we're in a pause state, I'm sure I'm gonna miss something. We actually check we are on execute just update function animation. I think it's true for every state for player. We need to update the animation every time, but we'll see what we need to overwrite or something. But for now, this will do. Actually, what have I missed in the CMake file? I don't think I have player states anymore. No, let's just add that. What I need to do is actually in the main see, what I need to do is not player render, yeah, player render, but you also need to do, actually let's first update. And then get FPS, let's just call that. This will give you the time difference. And run this. Let's see the error first and then fix it. Okay, it's actually right because we are in the pause state. But if I let me check that. We are in the scene. So in the scene file, we need to create another statement. We check the player states. Let's just copy all those things. Now you can argue you can have a base state or player state, but it doesn't matter. Let's have a idle state, right? Call it idle state. Idle state. Actually, we will have here. So in the idle state, what changes? The type changes to idle. It doesn't change. Name it I guess that makes sense as base player state. On enter, you wanna enter an animation type as idle. Idle state animation. On exit, I don't want to do anything. Yeah, let's just add that to the scene. Let's just replace this. Let's call idle state. Let's see what happens. Right, we have the idle. See, the player is giving the idle animation. Let's actually save those. Add pause and idle state. Let's actually add another state for now. Where are you? Yeah, the player states. Maybe it makes sense to have base player state. It's not of but it will change because I'm actually just editing this run state. This is for testing purpose, so I don't know if because we have a steering behaviours, this will change because every steering behavior is on run state. So let's just do that. So run state, we wanna be running, type is run, the structure doesn't change, run state, undo, run state, that is done. On animation enter, we wanna do is animation type, change the animation type to run. So now we're gonna run. Why are you complaining, my friend? Why is it complaining? Because I have named it wrong. That's why it's complaining. We have the run state. In the on execute, run state, run state. So in the scene code, let's change the state of instance to this to run. See what happens. Yeah, we need to call make. Right, we are running. So yeah, the state machine is working for now. What I'm gonna do is add finally start to add the steering behaviors in the next video, because the state machine for now is working, although I need to optimize the code a bit, need to refactor the code a bit, because these states are I'm doing copy pasting a lot. I will see. I don't actually really mind, because I think sometimes the code becomes complicated once I use scenarios and stuff. If you wanna typing more but things still is simple, then I'm okay with it. Okay, the commit is add run state. If I'm typing more but the end thing is simple, then I think it's worth it. So yeah, I think that's enough for today. I'm gonna do the next thing in the next video. So thank you.